So, the plane is in the air. We are ready to get going. And let's see if we can zoom over to that plane and we can catch some of the action. We've got players dropping left and right. We've got a north to south, east-bearing plane. It's going to be leaving a lot of opportunity for players to get quite a good amount of loot. But the right side of the map won't be too populated, but we generally see a split right down the middle of each team, one going to one side and one going to the other. So in this case, we do have, one moment, we have on the blue side, we have Russia, and on the red side, we do have the Kazakhstan team. Led by Nesqui, he seems to be leading his team into Pachinki, always filled with good loot. They've got a nice spread going on here, seemingly random, but split on the western side of the map. But then we also have, on the Russian side, a concentration along School, Rozhok, and potentially some later Yasnaya looting if they decide to go that way. And on the southern side, their flanking team here, we have a couple of guys in military base, so they're sure to get a ton of loot. They're going to secure that right bridge and make their way up eventually. But we have a great standard esports circle today, and we won't have any crazy rotations down to military base. So Russia's looking in a strong position in their Rozhok school area. Everybody's looting up. We're getting ready for the inevitable brawl, and the trench lines will form as we get closer to that third and fourth phase. But in phase one, all we can really expect is everybody to loot up, get ready, gather the vehicles, assemble the convoys, and prepare for an epic royale. Now, the key thing people don't want to happen is to get caught out in the open, and really the only two individuals we can see getting in a conflict right now are Just and Tizarin, respectively, for their teams. They're each looting their own little compounds here, gearing up. Juston's got a easy M16. Not exactly the weapon they're probably going to be looking for today. Most teams are going to be looking for M4s and AKs and SKSs, SLRs, and Mini 14s. Those are the names of the game when it comes to these 32v32s. Bolt-action sniper rifles have a massive disadvantage, in my opinion, when you're fighting against potentially 30 other players, and you want to be able to down player after player and get quick flushes, because a lot of back-and-forth peeking will go on today. So let's take a look at the map, see if there are any other potential conflicts. We do see a little bit of a close proximity to these two teams, parts of these teams, but nothing going to happen there. And it looks like Juston and Tizarin are just going to keep looting, happy to leave each other alone, and no conflicts at this point at all. We just see everybody looting up, no one really transitioning into vehicles just yet, but we will see something soon enough as these teams gather along this central position along the map in the phase 1 circle. This is always the lull in action with any PUBG esports event. Everybody with the boosted loot settings, they're scrambling to get as much loot as possible, and so right now we're just in that slight downtime as we get to see a first red circle pop right over Pachinki. Going to be a bit of an annoyance for the Kazakhstan team today, but I think nobody should get down to the red circle today. These guys are all pros, and they should be fully prepared to huddle up in their buildings and avoid any random bombs. Maybe we'll have a red circle at a later point, but in these 32v32s, the red circle is enabled, something that you don't see in the traditional NPL type 16 teams, 4v4, 4 members each, but the red circle is in this game mode, and so it can be a factor in the later parts of the game, but we will see. We actually now have some vehicles being picked up. The leader of Kazakhstan sitting in his nice little Dacia there, awaiting his team to gather up. we've got another 4 minutes till the next circle happens. So at this point, everybody's just biding their time, hanging out in Pochinki, getting ready for a battle, avoiding the bombs, looting up as much as they can, and we see a lot of rotations actually happening in the northern side for Kazakhstan as they look to the center of the circle and to get a prime position. I think we'll see Pochinki as the rallying point for the vast majority of Kazakhstan. But as we've seen in previous matches in these 32v32s, the circle center position is the most key thing that these teams want to obtain. And at this point, there's just going to be a sort of a posturing along a trench line. You know, you can think of large-scale warfare in these instances. In a 32v32 scenario, there's going to be lots of trench lines and just established lines of fire that nobody's going to want to journey across, dead man's land in the center. So we'll see some action soon enough, but lots of transitioning and just posturing for the advantage hillsides, such as the one Tizrin is approaching up on, so he can get a good scouting look at Pochinki. We're going to see a lot of scouting from these teams as they break off into groups of 2 and 3 and just try and collect information at this point. Oren off by himself, stuck with a red circle around him, relegated to a small hut, having to loot. But he'll once again survive the red circle, no problem, as long as he doesn't journey outside with any crazy ideas. And it's shifting over to the left here, giving Kazakhstan a little bit of a trouble, but I'm sure these guys in their cars will zoom out of this area very quickly because red circles aren't known to blow up your vehicles at the most inconvenient time when you're hiding from the red zone. So let's hope that doesn't happen to any of these Kazakhstan team members, and we will be moving on to a further northern position for a lot of these guys as they seek to maintain that central position. And it seems that Russia's actually having its last few team members rotate out of the military base as the next circle will pop in another minute and 30 seconds, and that will leave them well out of this area most likely. We will probably see a northern shift, I imagine, which would favor Russia heavily, but if it does go down to the south, that will obviously favor Kazakhstan in this geographical setup. And now we actually have some interesting posturing going on in these complexes, with Russia taking a nice position across the Pochinki fields with at least 8 team members getting ready to battle up on the hill. And finally, we do have Russia shooting off a couple rounds, but it looks like we have an oopsie going on here with Prill being taken out, or Prill taking out Double B accidentally. So that's going to be a quick revive probably on their side, as these accidents seem to happen quite a bit in these 32v32s. So a little bit of a hiccup there, not too much of an issue, just a wasted painkiller, and they will move on as they try and catch somebody out in the open on this potato hill looking over Pochinki. But this isn't the only firing line that will be established. We see other team members of Russia concentrating in a giant mass, essentially, around Potato Hill, as well as this red circle keeping Kazakhstan locked down for a bit of time in their 8-man split in these couple of buildings. But they do have a reserve amount of players covering their flank, making sure that nobody is trying to make their way into Pochinki or flank around on anyone's position. And we do have a flare gun shot off, and that will be a care package right about in the front of the Pochinki fields near this little mountain that also looks over it, and it should be a relatively safe position, maybe a smoke or two, but they do have a defilade here that can provide a mountain of cover, but I'm sure they'll probably take a couple of shots from Potato Mountain if they have some 6 or 8 times snipers over here. So we can actually take a deeper look at this team gathering, and I'm sure they've got plenty of snipers. They're gathering up all their vehicles over near these houses to make sure they're in reserve and out of the firing range of nades or anything like that. But look at this, we have a red circle, and Russia's going to have to clamber inside this one small hut. All right, boys, it's a party. Everybody's saying, what's up? How we doing? We're doing some flips. We're hanging out. These are the kind of things we want to see in PUBG esports. Just random moments, plenty of memes, Russia hanging out, someone playing hard bass in the background. We're hanging out. Explosions in the background. A great time to be a Russian. Hanging out with your motorcycle and all your friends while there are multiple bombs going outside your little hut. But moving on, the circle has popped and we have a new position going on with the central part of the field and Potato Mountain still smack dab in the center. So I don't think we'll see any difference in the positioning of these two teams right now. Not much action at all besides those earlier volleys on Potato Mountain. But at this point, they're just going to hold these mark lines of the Western Front and the Eastern Front. No one's going to journey out into a no man's land, essentially, and they're just going to hold these positions, still gathering some loot. We've got many 8x going on for Mako. We've got probably an equal amount of 8x and other sorts of weaponry ready to go. Here we have a 6x for Test 333. And you'll see that 6x on M4s and AKs are actually a regular occurrence in these PUBG esports. You know, a 40 clip of 5.56 is really going to help. We actually have some shots being finally given over to the Russian side by Pain Sound and a bunch of their other snipers as they try and keep them a little wary. Just some warning shots at this point. Don't think any damage is being committed to quite just yet, but they're trading some shots, feeling each other out, seeing what's going to happen. But we're looking to catch someone off guard, and with this shift down south, this could give an opportunity for Kazakhstan to essentially crash into this complex if they recognize that there's only a couple of people over here. So they could make an attack there, but things are finally popping off as both teams have decided enough camping. It's time to actually shoot something and see if we can get some damage, get some utility burned on their side, see if we can knock a few people. I don't see anyone getting flushed at this point, but we are looking at a 32v31 situation for this matchup. And we're going to continue on as it's pretty much dead even. And we do have a flare gun called for the Russian side on Potato Mountain as the rest of their northern squad with this third circle shift seeks to make their way into the zone. And we do have another set of posturing going on as Potato Mountain becomes not as relevant anymore. And a southern shift by Russia seems to be the primary objective right now as they want to maintain that central position in the circle, because as this circle shifts, whatever team gets caught out in the open is going to have a rough time. And so we've got hills, we've got lines of firing forming around these hills. We've got multiple teams rotating in their vehicles, getting ready for essentially the epic battle that happens at the key moment of all these fights. 32v32, these teams just keep getting shoved closer and closer together, and we will soon see the eventual results of everything just kicking off. It's going to be nearly impossible to keep up with, but I will do my best. Now, we finally do see some teams looking to fight it out at this complex. We have at least 16 people marked up on this Russian side, and then we have the other half of the team maintaining their Potato Hill position, also trading shots with that camping 8-man squad on the Kazakhstan side. But this next circle shift is really what's going to change the game for everyone, as we seek to maintain that central position. And Kazakhstan's looking in a really good spot right now with all of their control over the center. They've got a nice circle of fire going down on the essentially cornered Russian team. They're relegated to the eastern side, and if this next circle doesn't pop on the eastern side, they're going to face a rough rotation and the slow pincer movement of the Kazakhstan team. But they seem to be nicely spread out, and we're getting some shots fired over at Flasm. He's taking a ton of damage. That's going to be Macho and another Russian teammate actually landing some shots, but no down just yet. But we've got some return fire hitting Mayacho, actually needing to take some painkillers. He's going to hide behind that tree, maintain his position, and see if he can shoot back and get a little bit revenge. But we're actually finally starting to see some damage, and here we have Cake Destroyer making the first down of the day on Amadeus, and he's going to get revived most likely. The smokes are going out. The Kazakhstan team members aren't going to let him be the first casualty of the day, and as long as no one can get a line up from that Potato Hill, they should be relatively safe. But there are those shots hitting him from Potato Hill, and they get the res just in time. Those smoke grenades, key from hiding them from the snipers over on Potato Hill, sending down that fire. And one more shot, he would have been done, but just in the nick of time, he gets rezzed, ducks into cover, gets the meds off, and we're still looking at a 32v31 scenario as we get a second flare gun called for the Kazakhstan team, as this circle position is going to make a massive shift necessary for the Russian team, and we are going to start seeing some downs very quickly. And so Russia's going to need to put the pressure on as soon as possible, as they're going to feel the pressure of the next circle very, very badly with this lack of a central position as the new circle pop. So Kazakhstan's going to be able to gatekeep them so well, but we have a northern shift that is going to be a thorn in their side, as at least 7 team members in cars appear to be making their way through the red circle and around Pachinki. But we have a response team of Russia getting ready to counter them. They have the buildings on their side. I expect Russia to make their way in to Pachinki, and this counterforce of Kazakhstan team members will have to engage them in these buildings. So right now it's going to be seize Pachinki buildings as much as you can, as the second battle is going to be pitched in the city of Pachinki, as long as they don't do a further shift over to this mountain. But I do like what Datish is doing over here, getting another shift. But Johnny Bones with the MK14 getting a down, sitting in his shack in the most forward position for the Russian team, taking the risks, trying to lay down a sort of cover fire and a path into the circle, as the Russian team just finds themselves pinned down, exchanging fire with the Kazakhstan team, who has a superior position right now and is making use of that. But they are taking damage on both sides. And so it's yet to be seen who's going to win this match, as the numbers are staying pretty solidly even, but with a central position given by Kazakhstan, and as they gatekeep, Russia needs to make a movement into the center if they're going to face any sort of chance of getting out of this next circle, or getting into the next circle. But here we have Smora Donova making his way over to these 2 barns, unaware of Neskui, the leader of Kazakhstan, trying to be silent, trying to not make a movement. We'll see. Did Smoro hear a footstep? He looks to be checking out this building. He must have heard something. He's staying cautious. He's not sure if he's going to have to push his way in. It's always risky to breach and clear on a second floor building. The higher ground is always the more valuable. And what's this? He's going to get in a buggy, and his Neskui gonna get a, no, it's just gonna be a bit of posturing. He heard the footsteps. He knows that there's definitely a person inside here. He's gonna maintain his position on the outside and try and stay safe. As we do have Drains making his way over as well. So we have a battle of the 2 generals right now on our hands, potentially, as Drains finds himself right next to the Kazakhstan general of Neskui. We will see how this plays out. And we actually do have a lot of action going on the other side, as we have another circle about to pop. And it looks like we are going to have a breach and clear on this position. If not, they're just going to keep this general locked into his hut and not let him out. But they do have a bit of an issue here with not much cover. Their vehicle's exposed. If Kazakhstan decides to start popping tires, that could spell disaster. But the next circle has popped, and it is favorable and gives a little bit of breathing room for Russia. But this western flank is proving to be very fruitful for them, as they apply a pincer maneuver on the southern edge of the Kazakhstan team. And so Russia is not out of this just yet, but the main part of their force is outside of the circle or along the edge. So the next circle is going to be absolutely critical how it shifts into what we're going to see in terms of the massive battle happening and the rotation, essentially slaughter that does happen in most of these games. And we're going to have Prill actually getting a down and a flush on Arnie. Another kill for the Russian team. They're actually upping their lead, getting a 3-player difference, and demonstrating that they are not out even when they're under pressure and don't have the strongest circle position. They can maintain a solid firing line and catch a couple of those Kazakhstan members out in the open. And now we're really going to see a lot of deaths and downs traded as we just pop off, and Russia makes a full push over this hill. And now we have some grenades being laid out. We're getting actually close quarters combat. Mayacho making his way up, trying to finish off Nemo, getting the down of Mumino, and then another nade goes off and finishes solid Nemo out. Pachenko hiding in the smoke, gonna try and heal up. We are seeing a clear push from Russia as they seek to not be sitting on the edge of the circle. They're going to take position. We've got a sort of battlefield that's going on everywhere, but I would say Russia definitely has a superior pincer maneuver going on from the west and eastern side here, but it's yet to be seen how much damage the northern Kazakhstan team can do as they are still sitting at the edge of Pachinki looking to move in. But we're sitting at 20v23. Kazakhstan has managed to shift the numbers over into their favor with a 3-player gap right now, and we have tons of damage being traded, lots of downs, smokes being popped off, people trying to res their teammates, but it's going to be difficult as the firing lines get mixed and mashed, and the chaos begins just about now. So let's get an aerial view as we pop off on the next circle, which is gonna favor, well, to be honest, no one's got a clear favor. This southern hill is just the central focal point of this battle right now, and there are a couple snipers in the distance trying to catch people out on their flanks. Russia has plenty of flanking people on the western side, but it looks like Kazakhstan making a full push over the hill, getting a bunch of downs. Pachenko doing some real work, but we're getting a counterfire over from Test and Flint and Zorf, who's going to get a couple downs on the Kazakhstan side in return. So we've got a sort of pitched battle, but it looks like Kazakhstan is taking the advantage with 20 players still up and only 12 left on the Russian side. It's becoming a quickly favored Kazakhstan side battle, and we have a couple of Russian members still on the flank but pinned down on the western side. And we also have a number of players for the for the Russian side still outside of the circle. You can't count out the importance of this northern Pachinki team that has been laying down sniper cover fire, essentially keeping Russia contained in their corner for the most of this phase 5 and 6. The northern Pachinki team has been able to gatekeep and keep the pressure onto this Russian team so that they can't make their way out onto the field. And now we have tons of fire coming out. The Kazakhstan team is making their push over the hill. It's looking worse and worse for Russia as the kills keep on flying through. Kazakhstan is looking to put on the pressure, an overwhelming amount of force from 18 players still up with 6 left. It is looking really rough, and we have a little bit of a oopsie going on with plenty of team killing going on. I'm not sure what Kazakhstan's doing, but either for the memes or for the accident, there's a little bit of friendly fire going on, but they're going to continue on into the center push of this circle. They know Johnny Bones is in this hut. They've got a flanking maneuver going on. There's not much Johnny Bones can do. He needs to get some downs on his front, because otherwise he's going to get a nice grenade thrown in that hut really soon. And it looks like Pain Sound looking for the nade, looking to create some danger. Johnny Bones throwing down a smoke grenade, trying to last, oh, not a smoke grenade, a flash, but a Molotov's going in there, and now he's relegated to be trapped essentially in this hut. But a little bit of an oopsie on Pain Sound's side. He was able to get downed himself due to the Molotov. Johnny Bones burning himself to death, but not before he drops a grenade to deny a point to the Kazakhstan team. And now we're left with just 2 people left. Make that just one individual left who was trying to sneak up on some unsuspecting Kazakhstan members. But it looks like today we have the win for Kazakhstan, and we are looking towards round 2 as Russia is down 1 match.